The child of two worlds. The new world had no name on any star map. To some, it was just another green dot in the sky. But for Jackson and Shirakai, it was home. The days were calm, the nights were cool, and the sky held 3 moons that glowed, like quiet guardians above them. Jackson had built a small shelter from salvaged metal and local stone. It wasn't fancy, but it was safe. Inside, Shirakai sat near the window, her belly full and round. Her hands rested over it gently, and her eyes often wandered to the stars. She was glowing, not with energy, but with peace. Jackson stepped in with fresh fruit he had picked from a tree nearby. "You're awake early," he said. Shirakai smiled. Our child was kicking. Maybe she was hungry. He handed her the bowl. "She takes after me then." They both laughed softly. The fear was gone now. No alarms, no warships, just life. Later that evening, they sat outside under the moons. Shirakai leaned against him and he wrapped a blanket around her shoulders. "Do you think the galaxy will ever know about this place?" she asked. "Maybe," Jackson said. "But by the time they do, our child will be ready." Shirakai closed her eyes. "I've thought about names." "Me too," Jackson said. "But I think you should choose." She looked up. "Then I choose something from both of us, human and Vailnari." He smiled. "Perfect." 3 nights later, the child came. The birth was long, painful, but Jackson never left her side. He held her hand, whispered to her, wiped her sweat, and when the cries of the baby filled the quiet air, both of them wept. A girl, with glowing golden eyes, human hands, and silver hair. She was beautiful and alive. They named her Alara J, meaning hope between stars. Jackson held her gently, amazed by how small she was. "She's warm," he whispered. "She's real." Shirakai smiled weakly. "She's everything we fought for." Weeks passed. Alara grew strong. She laughed often, and her tiny hands always reached toward the stars. Jackson would carry her around the hills, pointing at birds and strange alien trees. Shirakai would watch from the window, her heart full. But one day she sat beside Jackson and grew quiet. "There's something I must tell you," she said. He looked at her. She continued, "I was not the only one who escaped. There were others, sisters who fled across the galaxy. If Alara survives, our people will come." "You want to call them?" Jackson asked. "Yes," she said, "but not now, not for help. Only when Alara is ready to lead." Jackson took her hand. "Then we'll raise her to be strong, kind, brave, like you." Years later, as Alara ran across the fields laughing, Jackson watched her and whispered to Shirakai, "She's not just ours, you know." Shirakai smiled. "I know. She belongs to 2 worlds." Jackson nodded. "But she was born from one thing only," he said. Shirakai raised an eyebrow. "What's that?" He pulled her close and whispered, "A choice. Yours, mine. Made, not in fear, but in love." And far above them, the stars watched in silence, knowing that in a galaxy full of war and darkness, a new light had been born, a child of 2 worlds, a future of many. The end. Trussed in the dark, the ship floated through space, silent and scarred. Wires sparked in the hallway. A thin mist drifted from a broken pipe. The stars outside blinked gently, but inside, it was dark. Power was low. Shields were down, but they were alive. Jackson lit a small emergency lamp and sat beside the med bed, fixing a panel with one hand while holding a hot drink in the other. His fingers were burned, knuckles bruised. Shirakai lay under a blanket, weak but awake. She looked at him with tired eyes. "You should sleep." Jackson shook his head. "Not until I know we're safe. Your ship is broken. You are bleeding." "And still you sit here," she said softly. He looked at her. "You're still breathing. That's what matters." She smiled faintly. "You speak like a warrior, but act like a healer." Jackson gave a small laugh. "Maybe I'm just a fool." The silence stretched between them. Outside, the stars watched. Then Shirakai reached into her pocket and pulled out a small vial. Inside it swirled a glowing purple liquid. "What's that?" Jackson asked. "Our last fertility serum," she whispered. "It's old, but it still works." He stared at it. "It must be taken before the bonding," she added. "Once inside me, my body will be ready. And I can carry life. A child. Half mine, half yours." Jackson felt his throat. "Go dry. You're still sure?" She nodded. "Yes, but I won't take it unless you speak the truth." He leaned forward. "What truth? Tell me, do you truly want this child? Or are you just saving a stranger?" Jackson stood up, walked to the window, and stared out into space. He thought about his life before, wandering alone, filling silence with work, fixing machines but never fixing himself. And now, here was this woman, broken, hunted, yet strong enough to hope. He turned back toward her. "I didn't choose this," he said slowly, "but I don't regret finding you. You made me feel needed, real, human." He walked back to her side and sat down again. "If we bring a life into this world," he continued, "it won't be out of pity or duty. It'll be because I believe we can give that life something better." Shirakai looked into his eyes. "That's all I needed to hear." She lifted the vial, opened it, and drank, then handed him her hand. They sat quietly for a while, side by side, fingers loosely touching. Not lovers, not strangers. Something in between, something real. Hours later, Shirakai fell asleep. Jackson stood, walked to the front of the ship, and checked the systems. Suddenly, a soft beep, a new signal, a message, encrypted, but human. He opened it carefully. "To any listening ships, refuge offered at Port Haven 7. All survivors welcome, medical care and shelter available. Coordinates attached. Safe zone confirmed." Jackson's eyes lit up. He downloaded the map, then walked back to the sleeping woman. He knelt beside her and whispered, "We found a place." A day later, the ship limped toward the distant lights of Port Haven 7, a small floating station hidden in an asteroid field. It wasn't big, it wasn't rich, but it was free, and as they landed, the crew of the station came to greet them. Humans. Peacekeepers. Doctors. One of them looked at Shirakai and asked, "Is she injured?" Jackson replied, "She's more than that. She's carrying something precious." As Shirakai was taken to the medbay, she looked back at Jackson. "I'm not afraid anymore," she said. "You don't have to be," he answered. She smiled. "Because now, I'm not alone." The last escape port, Haven 7, looked like a forgotten chunk of metal floating in space. Old, rusted, but safe. Inside, the halls were dim but warm. The people were kind. No flags, no kings. Just survivors, humans, aliens, and all those tired of war. Jackson sat in the waiting room of the medbay, staring at the floor. Shirakai was inside, being checked by human doctors. He hadn't left her side for days, but now they asked for privacy. He waited. Every sound made him jump. Finally, the door slid open. A nurse stepped out, smiling. "She's stable. She asked for you." Jackson stood up so fast he almost knocked over the chair. He entered the room. Shirakai lay on a clean bed. Her skin looked brighter, her body stronger, and her eyes glowing gently. "I'm all right," she said before he could speak. "And the serum worked." He walked to her. "You mean—" She nodded. "I'm carrying our child." Jackson didn't speak. He sat beside her, took her hand, and smiled. But inside, something stirred. Not fear, not regret. A strange warmth. Hope. That night, they were given a room in the refugee section. Jackson watched Shirakai sleep, her hand resting gently over her stomach. He felt something inside him shift. He had spent years running from attachments, from responsibility. But now, he wanted to protect this woman. He wanted to protect their child. But peace never lasted long. The next morning, alarms rang. The station shook. Red lights flashed. Jackson ran to the control room. "What's happening?" a guard shouted. "Unknown. Ship just exited warp. No ID, no response." The screen showed it, black and gold, warlord colors. "They found her," Jackson whispered. The guard turned to him. "Why would they come here? This place is hidden." Jackson looked at the screen. "Because she's not just some alien," he said. "She's the last heir, and now, she's carrying the future." Down in the med section, Shirakai tried to stand. Nurses begged her to stay down. She ignored them. "I'm not losing my child," she said. Jackson burst in. "They're here." "I know," she said. "I can feel it." He helped her walk. "We need to get off this station. There's no ship left but yours. My ship won't survive a direct hit." "Then we go through the debris field," she said. He looked at her. "We'll die." She looked back. "So will everyone else if they get me." They raced to the docking bay. The station's guns fired at the enemy ship, but it was too fast, too strong. Fires erupted on the lower decks. Screams echoed in the halls. Jackson helped Shirakai into the pilot seat. She had refused to lie down. "If we go out, I want to see the stars," she said. They launched. The ship trembled, barely holding together. Behind them, the warlord ship gave chase. Missiles flew past. One hit a nearby rock, exploding into light. Jackson pushed the engine to the limit. They entered the asteroid field. Rocks the size of houses floated around them. "Hold on," he shouted. The ship twisted between two giant stones. The warlord ship followed, but was bigger. Too big. It clipped one rock, then another. It slowed down. "Come on, just a little more," Jackson muttered. Suddenly, a massive explosion behind them. Jackson looked back. The warlord ship had hit a drifting mining bomb. It was gone in a flash. Shirakai leaned back in her seat. "We made it." Jackson didn't answer. He was staring ahead. The stars were clear now, and just beyond, a blue planet. "Do you trust me?" he asked. She looked at him. "With my life." They landed on the green hills of a peaceful world. No cities, no scanners, no hunters, just wind, trees, and the sound of new life waiting to begin. The decision Jackson sat on the floor of the ship, his back against the wall, a half-finished energy bar in his hand. He wasn't hungry anymore. In the quiet hum of the engines, his thoughts were loud. A royal alien woman had just asked him to give her a child, and he hadn't said no. He looked over at Shirakai. She lay on the med bed, her chest rising and falling slowly. Her silver hair spread across the pillow, her arms folded over her stomach. He remembered her voice, her broken whisper. "Please, make me a mother." Jackson ran his fingers through his hair. What kind of galaxy am I living in? He wasn't a hero, not a soldier, just a scavenger, a drifter. He fixed broken engines and sold scrap metal. He didn't save worlds. He didn't make decisions like this. Yet here he was. Hours passed. When Shirakai opened her eyes again, Jackson was standing by the ship's small sink, washing his hands. "Jackson," she said weakly. He turned around. "You're awake." She nodded. "You should leave me." "What?" "You're kind. But this isn't your burden. My fate is sealed. They will come. Always. You should run while you can." He shook his head. "I don't run. You don't even know me." She whispered. He walked to her bedside and sat beside her. "I don't need to know everything. I saw you crawling through the dust, nearly dead and still holding on. That told me enough." Shirakai looked away. They'll track me again. They always do. You'll die for nothing. Jackson leaned forward. Listen to me. I've seen a lot of people in this galaxy. Good ones, bad ones. But I've never seen someone this broken, still trying to create life instead of taking it. She stared at him, tears forming in her glowing eyes. You asked me for something big, Jackson said. And I didn't say yes because I didn't want to be used. I didn't want to be just a tool. I understand, she whispered. But I've thought about it. And if I say yes, it won't be because you begged. She turned her head slowly toward him. It'll be because I chose to stand with you, not as a favor, not out of guilt, but because I believe your child, our child, deserves to exist. Her breath hitched. She blinked fast. Jackson added, but only if we decide together, as equals. Shirakai didn't speak for a moment. Then, she smiled. A real smile, faint but beautiful. Then let's choose together, she said. Later, that night, the ship lights dimmed. Jackson sat at the console, scanning the map for a safe planet, somewhere uninhabited where no warlord could find them. Shirakai stood behind him, wrapped in a loose thermal blanket, her steps slow but steady. There's something I need to show you, she said. Jackson looked back. What is it? She led him to the back of the ship, where the storage chamber held only junk and parts. She reached under the floor and pulled out a small silver cube. This belonged to my ancestors, she said. A genetic beacon. It proves my bloodline. The cube glowed faintly in her hand, casting a soft light. I kept it hidden, she said. If the warlords get it, they'll use it to breed dozens of children, royal ones. They don't want my survival. They want control. Jackson took the cube carefully. Why show me this? Because if I die, I want you to destroy it. He stared at her. But if I live, and if we bring a child into this galaxy, I want our child to have it, as proof of who they are. Jackson didn't say anything for a moment. Then he nodded. I'll protect it. And you. She stepped closer. And if I'm ever taken, you won't be. He cut her off gently. Not while I breathe. Their eyes met. There was no kiss. No touch. Just quiet understanding. But outside the ship, far across the rocks, a signal beeped on a tracker. The warlords had picked up a faint trace, and they were coming again. Hunted by her past, the desert wind howled again. But this time, it wasn't natural. It carried the sound of thrusters. Hunters were near. Inside the ship, Jackson adjusted the sensors. He saw it clearly now. A long-range stealth craft flying low over the dunes. Silent. Fast. He cursed under his breath. They found us. Behind him, Shirakai stood quietly, one hand resting on the wall to keep balance. Her face was pale, her golden eyes worried. They won't stop, she said. They tracked my energy signature, my blood, it calls to them. Jackson turned to her. We have to move now. No, she said. If we run, they'll chase us forever. They want me alive, but they won't care about you. I don't care, he replied. I'm not giving you up. Shirakai looked down, her voice soft. They were once my protectors. Now, they sell what's left of my people, my sisters, my cousins, all taken, sold to colonies, forced to give life to children they'll never raise. Jackson felt a chill run through him. And you escaped. I broke free, she said. I found this planet hoping to disappear, but I was already too weak. I didn't think I would make it until I saw you. Jackson looked out the window again. The stealth ship had landed 1/2 kilometer away. A dozen figures marched across the sand. He grabbed his rifle. Then let's give them a surprise. Minutes later, they had moved the ship deeper into the canyon's narrow pass. It was a tight space, perfect for an ambush. Jackson planted sensor mines along the entrance. If anyone passed through, he'd know. Shirakai sat in the back, her breathing fast. She held the silver beacon cube in her hands. If they capture me, they will breed 100 children from this. Jackson knelt beside her. I won't let them. Promise me, she said. If they take me, destroy the beacon, end the bloodline. He hesitated, then said, No. She looked shocked. I won't end it, he continued, because you'll live, you'll raise your child, and your people will start again, with you. A tear rolled down her cheek. You believe in me more than I do. I believe in choices, Jackson said, and I believe no one owns your body, not even your past. Suddenly, boom, the mines went off. Jackson jumped to his feet. They're here. Outside, a warlord patrol stepped into the trap. The first blast knocked 2 down. The others raised energy shields. Jackson took position at the narrow entrance. He fired bursts of plasma, forcing them to stay back. Shira, he shouted, get the ship ready to lift. Inside, she limped to the control panel. Her hands shook, but she tapped the right codes. The engines roared. Jackson ducked as a plasma bolt hit the wall beside him. He was outnumbered. He needed to fall back. But then, he saw something strange. One of the warlords wasn't firing. He was holding a chain, a golden chain. Jackson recognized it. That's hers, he muttered. They had her in chains. Fury burned in his chest. He fired again, covering his retreat. Back inside the ship, Jackson jumped into the pilot seat. Shirakai held onto the chair behind him. Are we trapped? Not yet, he said. Hold tight. The engines flared and the ship blasted upward between the canyon walls. Energy blasts flew past them. One struck the tail, but the shields held. They rose into the sky. Dust clouds spun below, but in the distance, another ship appeared, larger, stronger. It blocked their path to orbit. We can't outrun them, Shirakai said. Jackson smirked. Who said anything about running? He activated the emergency power core, something scavengers rarely used. But this time, he needed it. The ship's speed tripled. The bigger enemy ship fired. A blast hit them hard. Sparks flew across the cockpit. Shirakai screamed, holding on. But Jackson didn't stop. They punched through the clouds. Then, silence, space, stars, and no more signals behind them. The ship drifted quietly now, systems damaged but stable. Jackson slumped in the chair, breathing hard. Shirakai knelt beside him, placing her hand over his. You fought for me and when no one else would? He looked at her. I didn't fight for your bloodline. Then why? I fought for you. Just you. She leaned closer, eyes shining. Then, maybe, I can stop running. Jackson nodded. Maybe we both can. The woman in the dust. The desert planet was dry, silent, and forgotten. No birds, no trees, only sand, wind, and the burning twin suns above. A lone human man walked through the dust, wearing a thin breathing mask. His name was Jackson Varel, a scavenger. He was searching for old wreckage, hoping to find metal or tech to sell. Jackson moved slowly, eyes scanning the horizon. His boots sank into the soft sand. The wind howled around him. Suddenly, he stopped. There was something ahead, something small, moving in the sand. His hand moved to his blaster. Slowly, carefully, he stepped forward. The shape in the distance was crawling toward him. It was not a machine, not a beast. It was a person. As he got closer, he saw long silver hair blowing in the wind, thin arms, purple-tinted skin, an alien woman. Her clothes were torn. Her body was shaking. Her lips cracked. She looked weak, dying. Then her glowing golden eyes lifted up and met his. Please, she whispered. Her voice was soft, broken. Don't go. Jackson stared at her, unsure what to do. She tried to stand, but her legs gave out. She fell into the dust again. I'm not here to hurt you, Jackson said, stepping forward. Can you hear me? She raised one hand, trembling. Then, Her lips moved again. "Please," she said with a weak breath. "Make me a mother." Jackson blinked. "What?" He didn't understand at first. He dropped to one knee, gently checking her pulse. Her body was warm, but barely. The woman suddenly grabbed his wrist, weakly, but her grip was full of desperation. "My people are gone," she said. "Only a few of us like we remain. I need a child, a future. Please, human, help me." Jackson felt his heart beat faster. This wasn't normal. This wasn't a random meeting. This was something else. He looked around. The area was empty, but the hair on his neck stood up. Something felt wrong. He scooped her up into his arms. Her body was light, too light. "I've got you," he said. "Just hold on." Her head rested on his chest. She didn't speak again. He ran to his ship, a small cargo hauler parked near a cliff. The doors hissed open and Jackson laid her on the medbed. He quickly connected IV fluids and gave her oxygen. The computer scanned her vitals. Severe dehydration, malnutrition, exhaustion. Jackson sighed. "What happened to you?" She blinked, slowly trying to speak. "My name is Shirakai," she said. "Last of the royal blood. From Valnari." Jackson knew that name. Valnari, a planet destroyed in the war 2 years ago. He remembered the reports. Billions lost, cities vaporized and survivors hunted. "How are you still alive?" he asked. She looked into his eyes. "I ran. I hid. I've been walking for 3 days without food. I came here, following a signal. I didn't know who I would find. But when I saw you, I knew." "Knew what?" "That you are the one I must ask. To carry our line. To give life again." Jackson stepped back. "Wait. Are you serious?" "I have no time to lie," she said. He didn't know what to say. It wasn't just the request, it was how broken she looked. How desperate, like someone who had already lost everything, and was now placing her last hope in him. "Why me?" Jackson asked quietly. "Because I chose to ask, not to be forced, not to be taken again." She closed her eyes. Again? He understood now. She had escaped something, or someone. He turned toward the door. He needed to think. But then, the radar lit up. An unknown ship had landed. Nearby, Jackson stared at the screen. Someone else had followed her, and they were close. Too close. He looked at her again. Shirakai had fallen into sleep, her face peaceful but her body still shaking. Jackson clenched his jaw. He had only wanted to search for scrap. But now, he had found something else. A woman on the edge of death. A secret war survivor. And a request no man ever expected to hear. Outside, the wind roared louder. Dust covered the ship, and shadows moved in the distance. A dying bloodline. Jackson stood at the window of his ship, staring at the red light blinking on the radar. A ship had landed nearby, less than 2 kilometers away. Whoever they were, they weren't friends. He turned back to the woman lying on his medbed, Shirakai. Her face was calm now, but her skin was pale, and her breathing shallow. The fluid drip helped a little, but she needed rest. And safety. Jackson walked quietly to the side of the bed. "Who's following you?" he asked, even though she seemed asleep. Her eyes fluttered open. She looked at him, pain in her eyes. "Warlords," she whispered. "They want to use my body for breeding." Jackson felt a chill crawl down his spine. "I ran before they could trap me," she continued. "I'd rather die in the dust than give them my child." He knelt beside her. "Why are they after you? What makes you so important?" Shirakai looked at him sadly. "Because I'm the last of the Valnari royal bloodline. My people are gone. Only a few scattered women remain. No men, no future. But why me? Why a human? Our ancestors had human DNA from ancient contact. It's dormant in us, only humans can awaken it again. You can give us life. Jackson leaned back. It sounded like a myth. But her eyes didn't lie. This isn't just about making babies, is it? He asked quietly. Shirakai shook her head slowly. No. It's about hope. My child wouldn't just be a mix. It would be proof we can survive, that the Valnari didn't vanish. Suddenly, a loud clank echoed outside the ship. Jackson stood quickly and pulled down the monitor feed. A group of tall, armored aliens were scanning the area near the rocks. They had weapons and trackers. One of them pointed toward the ship. They're coming, Jackson muttered. Shirakai tried to rise, but she winced in pain. Don't move, he said. I'll handle it. No, she whispered. You don't understand. They'll destroy you. And take me. Jackson opened a hidden panel under the floor and pulled out a small energy rifle. Then they'll have to get through me first. She grabbed his hand weakly. Please, don't die. I didn't come this far just to watch another life fade. Her touch was warm, shaking. Her voice full of fear, but also something else. Care. Jackson paused. He had saved people before, minors, kids, even a dog once. But never someone like her. Not someone who looked at him like he mattered. He looked at her and said, then let's make sure neither of us dies today. Jackson activated his ship's external defense. The engines flared to life. The drones near the cliffs began to shift, confused by the sudden movement. The warlords didn't shoot. They scanned, looking for her. Jackson flew the ship low and fast over the dunes, kicking up a storm of sand. The alien warriors opened fire but missed. Inside the cockpit, Shirakai held the side of the seat, her eyes wide. You're not like the others, she said softly. Jackson grinned. Never said I was. They flew deeper into the canyon, far from the wrecked outpost, deeper into the unscanned zones. There, Jackson landed the ship in a hidden crevice between two tall rock walls. The scanners showed no pursuit. For now. He returned to the med room. Shirakai was still lying there silent. I know you don't trust me yet, he said, but I need to know something. She looked up at him. If I help you survive, give you safety, shelter, maybe even what you asked for, what happens next? Shirakai's lips trembled. Then you're part of my people's future, part of my world. I'm not a king, he said. No, she said softly. You're something rarer. You're kind. That night, Jackson set up full shields around the ship. The desert was quiet again. No blinking lights on the radar. No sound but wind and stars. He sat beside her bed. Shirakai turned her head. I wasn't supposed to ask, she whispered. Our healer said we should not beg outsiders, but I had no choice. Jackson nodded slowly. Begging's not weakness, it's courage. She smiled faintly. You speak like a warrior. I'm just a man trying to do the right thing. A silence fell. Then she asked, if I survive, and if I give birth to a child with your blood, will you stay? He looked at her and quietly replied, we'll cross that bridge together.